Hi, I'm Don Taylor, the Chairman of the Learning and Performance Institute, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to say hello from my study in London to you guys in Australia, and hats off to you for taking seriously the idea about personal and professional development in the learning and development space. I know Colin's got you together to discuss this. I don't really think in our field there's anything more important that we need to be doing right now than thinking how we adjust ourselves and our skills for the future. There's no question that the old skills we had, being able to, in particular, create great content and to deliver it, typically in the classroom but also online, are going to be important in the future. No question. But they won't be enough. And in the future we're going to have a wider set of skills that we need in order to be able to deliver on our promises as learning and development professionals individually and also collectively, particularly as departments within organisations. I've talked elsewhere, and you'll see a video probably on my blog which Con can point you to. I've talked elsewhere about the training ghetto, and the training ghetto is a situation that I see springing up increasingly internationally. I talk and travel quite a lot internationally with people in our field. A situation where people are trapped in just delivering the very basics of learning in an organisation. That's to say, they're doing the induction training and they're doing the compliance training. Now, there's nothing wrong with those. They're both essential for the well-being of any organisation. But again, they're not enough. The problem with the training ghetto is that if you're caught in it, other interesting things are being done elsewhere by other people in the organisation, and not only are they stealing some of the exciting things that L&D should be doing, they're probably not doing it as well as you or I or anybody who's serious about learning can do, because actually we understand how the brain learns and we know what motivates people. On the other hand, they're probably just getting on with it and doing it quickly, and there's something to be said for that in today's fast-moving world. I've been in the business of technology and or training all my adult life, certainly since I started as a computer programmer in 1982 and as a stand-up trainer in 1987. I've seen lots of change over that time, obviously, but the biggest changes have been in the last 5 years, and that's the period when I've seen the demand for these new skills become apparent. What are they? Not things we traditionally associate with L&D. They're things like being able to have good relationships with vendors. Now, that might sound trivial. Actually, it's not. Talking to Charles Jennings, former Chief Learning Officer for Thomson Reuters, his success there was founded on his ability to get vendors to go the extra mile and to be able to pick vendors in the first place that he knew would go the extra mile when things went wrong, because something will always go wrong. Choose the vendor that's going to help you. Another thing that's terribly important, of course, is being able to handle big data. Everyone talks about big data like it's something that's going to be an inevitable part of our lives and we can all deal with it quite happily. Well, first is true, yes, big data is here to stay, and we can all deal with it happily? No. There are 3 skills we need with big data: being able to understand what question to ask, being able to find the answer, and then being able to interpret the answer so it makes sense in our business context. I'm not convinced typically in L&D we have any of those 3 skills, but particularly the last one, the interpretation of data effectively. It's not a criticism, it's simply a fact. Why do I say this? I say it because at the Learning and Performance Institute that I chair, we have something called the LPI, the Learning and Performance Institute Capability Map. The Capability Map describes 27 skills which are useful to have if you're in the learning and development profession, and which we believe that any department needs to have to operate successfully. When we set this up a year ago in October 2012, we had a deluge of responses, which was great. That enabled us to get a very quick snapshot 6 months later across the industry. Almost 1,000 people responded. Understandably, the top skills in that group were in the traditional skills of our field: training material creation and face-to-face or live delivery. new skills bubbling under where people showed some sense that they wanted to pitch in and learn about it, but they weren't very developed in them, were interestingly the new areas of informal learning, of community building, and of helping people learn collaboratively, which I think was very positive. The areas where we were weakest were these areas of data interpretation that I've just talked about, of vendor and stakeholder management that I've talked about, and one final one which sounds so vague I'm almost disinclined to mention it, except that I believe it's the most important skill we have for the future, which is the skill of communication. Communication in the future for L&D is going to be vital because it's a two-way street. As the organisation changes, we need to understand rapidly what the changes are that are going on and feed those into the L&D team and get a rapid response from them. But also, we need to be telling the rest of the organisation what we can do for them. We need to stand up and be candid and actually show that we have a lot more to deliver than simply the very important parts of compliance and onboarding training. I don't want to paint a dark picture here, especially not if Con's about to go and start doing something very positive. In fact, I think that the learning and development profession is in a very strong place. Every CEO survey that I can think of for the past 3 to 4 years, CEOs internationally have listed skills as the number 1 or number 2 challenge that they face. And we simply have to take advantage of that in today's fast-moving world so that we put ourselves in the position which is best for us and for the organisation of helping develop, maintain and use those skills as effectively as possible. I think we can do that by being clear about what skills we need, and so I'd recommend going to the LPI capability map, assessing yourself for free and seeing what your personal score certificate comes out at. I'd also recommend using some of the free tools that are out there for staying in touch with learning and development professionals. So that could be Twitter, actually it certainly should be Twitter, it would also be LinkedIn if you're not on there. So please use both of those and get in touch with me, Donald H. Taylor, on Twitter and LinkedIn. I'd also recommend joining the Learning and Skills Group, which is a free online community for people to get together, and being part of the webinars that the Learning and Skills Group and other organisations such as the Learning and Performance Institute deliver. There's lots of free materials out there, and Con does a great job of staying up late at night in Australia and being part of those conversations that we have. There's plenty of space for more Australians to come on board. It'd be great to have you there. The world of learning and development has changed immeasurably since I started in this industry in the 80s. It's changed in particular in the last 5 years. That's a good thing. It puts us in a position of being able to deliver far more than ever before. Let's take advantage of it. Let's build our skills up so that we're no longer in the position simply of being the order takers that fulfill demands for classroom training, for compliance, for induction, but deliver far more value within the organisation. I'll hand you over to Con now. He's going to take that discussion a bit further, look at some of the skills that are necessary in today's world, how you can develop them, and what more lies in the future.